Tonight on 8.5-bit, we play with some ghosts, play with some monsters, and play with some mouths.
And play the guitar.
I'm going to make sure I cut out your guitar part and just go straight to the click like this. Welcome, friends of all designs, to episode, 304 of 8.5-bit. Joining me today, I am your host, Paul, and joining me today are my good friend, James.
Hello.
I tried to unpluralize James.
Oh, my
when you only have one James.
Yeah.
And we have Sam on looped video from last episode because he's not actually here.
But,
So audio listeners, which is still the majority of people, don't even know I'm doing the joke. So I guess I should explain it there.
And I love the little nod there from Sam. It's like, yep. Yeah.
That's if I keep that part of the loop. I've kept it on for illustrative purposes for James, but I'll probably just pick a speed loop, like 30 seconds. It just loops the whole episode. It'll be good. So the games in the intro were, of course, Ghostwire Tokyo, Tentacular, and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands. Hooray! Now, I suppose this is more regular than we have been, but still not good back to regular-ish. So I think since the last episode, I've been in COVID lockdown. I don't think that was last episode.
No, you've been in lockdown.
Yeah, I managed to avoid it. I haven't had COVID.
Oh, you didn't get it?
I am.
Just through the household?
I have tested negative the whole time, including holding a positive baby all day long.
Yeah, so, it seems to be...
That's a good tick for vaccines. They work, apparently.
It seems like we're getting more and more in the negative. Like, I think now most people I know have had it.
I mean, yes, but you can get it again. I've known a few people that have had it a few times. I think one person I met had it like 6 times. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get a
room with that Rona.
At least get a bloody handkerchief or something. Yeah. You are doing it wrong.
You're doing something wrong. You're doing Rona wrong.
Yeah, or I mean, I can't remember what their job was. Maybe they have to roll around in other people's filth for a job. Cheryl
came home today and said that she had a case of influenza A. And she's like, oh, this hasn't happened in a while. It's just more like because of lockdown and all that kind of stuff. Going through the hospital, they haven't really had to deal with flu for a while.
Is A a special one?
I don't think so. I think it's just like one of the flus.
I remember early pandemic, I got an actual diagnosis of the common cold, which was hilarious because no one gets diagnosed with that because you don't test for that because you have a cold and you stay home. You don't go to the doctor. Yeah. But I had to go to a doctor and get a test and like, you've got this. I go, what's that? It's like, that's what we call the common cold. I'm like, awesome. Like exactly what I thought it was.
A rhinovirus? Is that what it's called?
I have no idea. It was a footnote in my life and it's gone now. But yeah, one official diagnosis of the common cold. It was good. But anyway, let's not talk about viruses all day. Unless we're talking about the 1990s sort of like multimedia game Virus, which was a first-person shooter which took pictures from your hard drive.
Yeah, I think it
made them all the textures.
Yeah, scanned your hard drive and brought in assets. Yeah. I don't know if...
My hard drive would be very scary.
Very different experiences for different people.
Yeah. Also, I mean, depending on the folder and some things, it might just be like 100 variations on like the same logo and like design layout. Yeah. quite boring, really. Okay, but we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about other things, and we've got some news and stuff. So how about we jump in and we talk about some Kirby? Because Kirby's the big one, but unlike when we did the big one that was Elden Ring, we don't have to save the spoilers to the end because Kirby.
Yeah.
And... most of the things in it.
Know what you're in for.
Which is... Well, yes and no. So Kirby and Forgotten Lands, it's the first 3D Kirby. I was like, can't be. I know I've seen the 3D Kirby. I don't remember playing one, but I've seen it. And have, because there was the GameCube one that got cancelled. So that one was 3D, gone away. There's been lots with 3D graphics, but still 2D gameplay. So this is 3D, but it's more in line with Mario 3D World than Mario Odyssey. So it's directed. You've got some camera control, but really it's just like tilting it. You don't rotate it. You can't look behind you. And other than that, it's basic Kirby. It's suck in enemies to get their powers. Navigate through. The levels are generally pretty easy, but each level's filled with like extra challenges that you unlock as you go along the way, which is not always Kirby, but most of the time these days. The basic general structure.
So does it have that thing where most of the game is quite easy, but then there's like these extra challenges which are quite challenging?
Yeah. So it most of the game, probably the last world gets to like a good difficulty. Like the last boss really like that took me a couple of goes, the last boss. And it's like the last like end game sequence is like, let me count, like 1, 2, it's multi-stage, 6 or 7 boss fights like in a row of like various bosses in multi-stage and like a layout, but between each one there's like a save point.
Okay.
I think so. It's like it's not actually a slog; it's just an epic ending. And when I say epic, I mean like Bayonetta epic.
Oh, okay. Was it like a boss rush mode kind of thing? Like, were you refighting bosses?
No. It's all story based. It's all like so you've discovered this, and then you got to do this fight, and then this event happens, so you're running away and you're fighting this and that. So it's just a story based thing. There's none of that sequence is replaying any content. There are like the early bosses become sort of like mid bosses later in the game. So you fight a couple of times, but also end game. So after you see credits, it's actually a whole other world and all these other challenges and new power ups and shit that you can't get in the main game. That stuff's genuinely like can be a bit tough sometimes. Not like crazy hard, but it's like, oh, I actually died here. I couldn't do that. And the bosses there, they use the same bosses again, but they're different variations that are more aggressive with more health and everything. So it actually does become quite a bit. If you want 100% it, there's some real challenge in it at the end. But, okay, so back, way back up. So what I really love about this game, primarily level design. So the game is, going through the level, and then there's a bunch of challenges. All the challenges rescue Waddle Dees in one way or another. Either you're literally rescuing Waddle Dees because there's 3... Oh, no. I was going to say 3, but no, it varies per level. So there's bunch of hidden ones per level. You get 3 or 4 for completing the level, and then there'll be like little challenges, and they're all masked out at the beginning of the level. So, but then it might be like you rip a poster off the wall, and then it reveals that challenge is rip 3 posters off the wall. So you're like, okay, I'll keep my eye out for that. And a lot of them are tied to puzzles, so you have to look forward. So here's the thing. You are a gamer, so especially in a platformer, and we'll just say a 2D platformer that you run left to right, what's the first thing you do in a platformer, James, being an experienced gamer?
Go the wrong way?
Correct. Not once in my Kirby experience was I rewarded for that.
Good. So you're not like constantly doing the let's search down the dead ends to see if there's anything
correct
to find. Yeah.
They have been very explicit in their design to not waste your goddamn time, which I was really, really happy about.
You remember in Bioshock Infinite when it had the button to tell you the right path, so you could use it to know where not to go?
No, I don't remember that, but that is a very good idea. So it puts all the level out just in front of you. Challenges are always pretty obvious, or not necessarily obvious, but you'll always have a chance to see them. You don't even when you get like a power that does a new thing in the level, and you're like, oh, cool. So I'll keep an eye out for that now. You get that inkling of like, oh, but what if I already passed one of those? No, they just don't. They're other than the fact if you avoided that power up early when you should have done it, where there was a few cases like that. Just not. There's the Kirby thing that's been in a few games where there's different doors. So a door with 3 stars above it means you're moving on to the next stage, and a door with 1 star above it means it's a place you return from. So you don't accidentally move on from the area you're doing. There's a few like one and done challenges, like a flying sequence and stuff like that. But at the end of them, there's just a star that takes you back to the beginning of them in case you want to replay it. Because why do the whole level again just because you messed up a flying sequence? So it's just really like fair in that way and doesn't waste your time, which is also good because the levels are just really nice to be in. They are. I don't think I've used the screenshot button in a game as much as I have in a long time with Kirby. It's just straight up gorgeous. This sort of post-apocalyptic Earth, going through like old shopping malls and rundown buildings overtaken by greenery, and there's a whole area in a desert, but it used to be an ocean bed, so it's all like ocean geography but dried out. And
is there a story reason for the world?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't know what it is, whatever. I don't know. It's Kirby. Look, Kirby games they start with a story. You're getting sucked to this other world for some reason. I don't know. I didn't really... You know me. I'm not paying that much. There's not that much anyway. It's just like, a thing opened up and you got sucked to a new world. Oh no, and Waddle Dee's got kidnapped and something's happened and now you've got a companion for some reason. Great. And then there's a game, and then at the end of the game, there's some more story. That's how Kirby normally pans out. There's like there's design along the way, and like there's lots of, so there's a home base, there's a Waddle Dee town or something they call like that, where all the Waddle Dees you're rescuing, that's where they live. And as you rescue more and as you progress the story, it opens new buildings and unlocks new things, and you can upgrade powers, and there's a coliseum that opens up so you can do like a boss rush battle, and there's a fishing game and all sorts of stuff. Now I quickly touched on one of those things, upgrading the powers. Now there's a few less powers in this Kirby than some of the other Kirby games, so not all the enemies you can suck in to get certain powers, but what they do is the currency that you earn on levels you can spend so there's two types of currency you got to get. You do the one, and you also get one from challenge levels. So every level opens up some challenges, which are normally like solve this puzzle with this power or something like that. And those are things that can be a bit harder actually. Generally, they're okay enough to get to win, but there's like a time limit, and those time limits can actually be really tight sometimes. So yeah, they're good little challenges. But anyway, use these two currencies to upgrade your powers, and those upgrades will be like a fancier looking version of it, but also have some slight mechanical differences.
I love to hear this one.
So you might actually have a reason to switch between them, but it's also just like really fucking cool to see what these new powers are. So yeah, that just kept me going and wanting to see Paul from the future here. Now, you may have heard earlier in the episode that I was playing Sam's previous video to James in the conference as a joke, and didn't realize, you might have heard him pop up a few times, his audio was still in that. So I've had to cut a bit of the episode out because he really starts chatting at this point, and it's fun, but it makes no sense whatsoever. Thankfully, I turned off the video after we finished chatting about Kirby and such. So most of the episode's here. So yay. Okay. Back to the previously recorded segment. Bloop. Okay. What's up next? Okay. Let's stick with the Switch. Let's do some Switch news. There was an update to the Switch firmware.
No, we got folders.
Added folders, and they're okay.
You're putting stuff in them?
Not really.
I haven't made a single folder. What was your...
I made one immediately.
What did you make?
My Jackbox folder, so that I don't have to, every time people come around for a Jackbox party, I don't have to go and open, is it 8 now?
Oh, no,
8 Jackbox games just to make sure that they're at the top of the list, and we don't have to go down my 300, 400 long Switch list just to get to J again.
You are... I wonder where you are percentile wise in Switch game ownership.
Oh, extremely high.
I think
look, I go to Deco Deals, I go sort by cheapest, and I look for anything that's slightly interesting, and it's added to my list. Is it a local multiplayer game? Even though I haven't been able to play local multiplayer in pandemic years, but one day I will again. When my children are old. Yeah. God, I'm having a second pandemic baby. Jesus. Anywho's and so the folders don't go on your home screen. You can't organize them like that. You've got to go into all software, switch to folders. So it's okay, but it still could be better. And also, it doesn't remove the games from the list when you put them in a folder, because you can put a game in as many folders as you want.
Oh,
that's
weird.
It's not that weird, because there could be lots of reasons wanting to do that.
So it makes a shortcut to it. inside a folder.
Basically makes a shortcut to it.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I can see purposes, but for someone like me, and I understand I'm not even a 1%er, I'm like a 0.01%er and stupid Switch craziness. I hear people go like, oh man, I've got so many games on my Switch, I've got like 12. I'm like, I bought 12 yesterday. But yeah, if I'm actually trying to like go through and sort it and organize it, it doesn't really help because every time I want to add new games, I see the entire list of games again, and yeah, I'd like a few more organization tools, but I'm probably never going to get them until the Switch is hacked with a custom firmware.
Yeah.
Help me organize my things. Okay, do we have anything else Switch centric?
Switch related.
This is how we do our new. We'll do all of our shows just via platform.
Yeah.
So Switch games. No, that should be on the Switch, but it's not. Mario Kart DLC. It came out. The first lot of it. I played those levels.
What do you think of them?
Fine. Like none of them blew me away, but they're also like these feel like they were always in the game.
Yeah.
So perfectly on brand. Nothing that was like mind blowing level wise, but it's hard to be mind blowing. Certainly.
Have they done much to update them?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah. Like even though, so I think all the levels that are in these packs are remakes of older levels. But if you go back and look at Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the already remade levels in that game, they're not like just updated. They're like, yes, we took that course and we made it as if it was a Mario Kart 8 level. So it's completely new. They'll add like the 0G parts and changing into water parts and everything. It's just generally themed and the general layout is the same. Otherwise, it's a completely new level. Yeah, they're not ports or anything. It's like, oh yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to the rest. Need to do some more Mario Kart nights.
I have appreciated Nintendo now with, because you have like a generational Mario Kart, and normally it's just kind of done and dusted. And I do appreciate that Nintendo have been, extending it.
Yeah, well, I think because the Switch compared to the Wii U isn't that much different, other than a different form factor. Power-wise, it's only... Even some things run a little bit worse on the Switch than they did on the Wii U. So, power-wise, they weren't going to be able to do anything, like, crazy new. We spoke about this last time when we were talking about the DLC. So, if they did it at 9, what could it possibly be that was worth it, like, that was going to, like, really impress us? When 8's just, like, kind of a perfect game in many ways. So, I'm glad they extended 8, and we'll see 9 and whatever happens in the future, I assume, if we aren't all dead from nuclear war. I thought it was funny. When we were talking about nuclear war, and this is of course talking about Ukraine, because this is the kind of hard-hitting show we are. And people were talking about getting it was potassium something, because it's good to have them on hand in case there's nuclear fallout. I'm like, if there's nuclear fucking fallout, I'm out.
You're done. Like, nope.
I'm just
noping out.
Like, I'm a big nerd. Most of my interests involve the world functioning as it currently is. I mean, I guess I like building things. I could to make a dog sanctuary.
You could
kitchen.
Maybe you just become the dog guy. He just looks after all the dogs without owners.
Yeah, I could, as long as they're all nice dogs.
Of course. Are there dogs that aren't nice?
Yeah, I've been bitten by dogs. There was a dog, because, I'm constantly rescuing dogs. And last year sometime, there were 2 dogs in the neighbour's place, and I went to grab them, and I got within, 10 metres of them, and I just went, no, not these 2. And I fucked off. I actually went to get some equipment, but they'd run away from then. And then later I found out they'd already attacked somebody that day. So my instincts were correct. Cool. Okay. So I think that's all Switch. Ukraine news, though. Everyone did a Ukraine bundle. They're all gone now, basically.
There were some pretty crazy bundles that came through.
Yeah, weirdly, I liked Humble's the least.
Yeah, I think your take on it was that it was too expensive.
Yeah, well, it was both expensive that it wasn't getting the charity, and then just on a personal level, this is a me problem, which is I own so many fucking games, especially at the mid-range, that I had like 95% of the games. And, it's not about getting games, but it certainly helps. I could also just donate to charity without getting games.
But I
that's
think
fine.
The pricing was an interesting one because it was... Because how much was it? Like $40 or something like that?
Yeah, like $50.
40, $50 bucks. Yeah. And it does kind of price it out for a lot of people.
Yeah. But I guess at that point, we had already had Itch. And that was $10 or so, and that had like 600 and something games and almost 1,000 things altogether.
Itch library is I like with these Itch like crazy mega bundles that when you go to look for a game, they have separate sections for them. Like they don't roll into your library because like otherwise there would be 2,000 or something games.
I think it's funny when I go to a games page and it goes, you own this from the Ukraine bundle and the racial justice bundle. And what was the other bundle? Like there's been 3 major bundles of because I always just buy them sight unseen almost because I'm going to find things in there. This has been in all 3. So I technically owned it 3 times. Cool. But yeah, the Itch one was cool. And the Fanatical jumped in as well. Which it was a really good bundle, and I thought I bought it, but apparently I didn't hit the buy button, and they were limited. Like they only had 10,000 to get rid of. So they were gone.
So you missed it.
Yeah, I missed it. But that's all right. I did have most of the things. I think there was 1 or 2 things that were like interesting to me, but I could just buy them otherwise and throw some money at a charity. But yeah, that was good that everyone, because there's been a lot of fundraising. I think just today, Epic announced that Fortnite's raised $144 million for charitable efforts in Ukraine.
I mean, especially now we're starting to see. I mean, I guess we're not a political podcast, so I'm going too deep. But I mean, we're starting to see some of the damage.
We can be as political as we want.
That's coming out of it. The monetary cost of trying to rebuild that country is going to be crazy.
Look, I think the monetary cost is the least.
Oh no, it's that's disregarding the, there's been civilian kills which have been way more. Than
it's just it's suddenly having your neighbors who look like you and live next to you come over and start murdering you certainly is going to cause some turmoil in your personality, and I cannot even imagine being in that kind of situation. But yeah, we're not going to jump in too much. In other Ukraine news, Wargaming, who originally sort of made some statements about supporting their Ukraine studios, and they fired a lead designer who came out as pro-Russian. Their main office is based in Belarus, and they also have developers in Russia. And they have not just made their public stance about it, they are now leaving. They are packing up their headquarters. Oh, wow. They are taking their business out of Belarus and Russia. And whilst they will, at the moment, Russian players are still allowed to play the game, there is a very good reason for that because the vast majority of their player base is Russian. So these moves are purely ideological, and they are going to take massive financial hits from it, which is nice. I kind of didn't expect it from Wargaming. I thought they'd just kind of lay low. But they really standing up for something, which is nice.
I'm sure they have their money reserves must be massive that they can afford to do that. But no, you're right. Like it is, you get these sort of very kind of token gestures from a lot of companies.
Well, I'm not sure if it was on our show or on Z Games. I was talking about all these companies said we're not doing business in Russia anymore, and it was 1, after the ruble was worth nothing. And 2, after all the payment processes had stopped supporting Russia. So I'm like, did you fucking do anything? Or are you just putting a positive PR spin on something that just naturally happened to you? So it's nice to see people making actual moves and sacrifices and statements.
I was a bit sad that I was... there was a company I was following that make this MIDI guitar. But it turns out they were Ukraine-based. And so they've got this... kind of the next model coming out, and they kind of got halfway through their pre-orders, and it's like, no, that's it now. We've got to, pack up, and
we have to vamoose, and we cannot take our production equipment with us.
Yeah.
And it may or may not be there in future. Yeah. So fuck. It sucks. I think that might be all of our Ukraine news.
I think so.
Good team.
Yeah.
So we could use that to pivot into Epic news. So first up, Fortnite, because Fortnite raised all that money, so it's good pivot, Paul. This is how we work. They removed building from the game, rah 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 rah, in a special event. Yes. And it was still available in 2 modes or something.
Yeah.
But people made a big deal out of it. But in response to that, even though it was obviously a limited event and was announced as such, and people just acted like it wasn't for some reason, they have added no building mode as a standard mode now.
Good.
So
because have you tried to play Fortnite recently with build mode? Like,
James, I've played 2 rounds of Fortnite in my life.
yeah, the what people do in Fortnite with the build is crazy. Like, it's
Yeah.
like so I'm all for this no build mode for regular human beings.
Why don't you just get good?
I don't have time to get good.
Or why don't you just download a macro to your keyboard that builds a castle?
Hit the castle button and it just
hit castle.
Yeah.
I mean, do you legit think they're actually building that stuff?
No, it's fair point.
So you can push a castle button, build a bridge button, build a robot button. Good stuff. But also, this morning, our time, but we'll release this in like 3-4 days anyway. There was what's it called? State of Unreal. There was a little online conference for Unreal, and it wasn't like a consumer-based thing of like, here are the cool games we're making. No, it was just about the engine. It was primarily for developers and showing off the technology.
They've dropped UE5 now, haven't they?
Yes, so they dropped with it UE5, so anyone can go and download it and start playing with it, and that included all the assets for that Matrix demo. So now you can play the Matrix demo on PC because people have compiled it.
I really, at some point, do want to like jump into UE and just see how
Is it time to port Sky Squadron?
No, this close to the end. Yes, now is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, time to pull a Duke Nukem Forever. So lots of interesting things in there. The one that I really liked, I hadn't seen any mention of before. They've developed a photo telemetry app for phones. So just scanning in models into the Unreal pipeline, you just get your phone and you rotate around and follow a few instructions. And so I'm going to give that a shot and see if I can make some cool models.
Yeah, because I've got the iPhone Pro, which I think has got all the LiDAR stuff and all that fancy tech. So probably do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see like how they try to. That was the other thing. And so this is a really minor. Like, why would I pick this as my highlight of the most advanced 3D graphics technology in the world? They made a community page, and I just loved it because I always remember back in the 90s talking to people on 3D Realms forums, and someone asked. I contacted Epic and asked how much it is to license Unreal, and the answer was if you have to ask, you can't afford it. And not only has that switched in, we've spoken about this before in recent years. It's like, no, it's free to use and you only pay when you reach a certain level of sales and all that sort of stuff. We want it to be. But then also just this focus on community and wanting to get developers together to talk about it and develop things in the engine, because it doesn't just help the developers. It obviously makes Unreal like a more robust package by having people working on it and putting it, and they can learn from it and take from it. Like, it helps everyone, but such a nicer attitude, and like, it seems like it'd be a much more profitable attitude as well. So, but they got over their gatekeepiness over the last few decades, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, going right back to when they open sourced it. Like, it's a very developer friendly approach that they've got.
And really, what downside is it? Who's going to fucking copy Unreal?
I always want Unity to open source, and my dream was always, and it was sort of rumored years ago. It was rumored that Microsoft might buy them. I'm like, oh come on, Microsoft, go buy. I guess with the acquisitions, it could still happen. But
now they've got Bethesda's engine.
Yeah, go.
Watch as we center and zoom in on everyone's face when we talk to them.
But yeah, like if Unity was open source, I just feel like it'd be exposing their shit code, and so they're
too embarrassed to go open source. That's what would always stop me from sharing any of my code ever. They'd be like, oh, why don't you just post the code? I'm like, because I've got like audio calls in the render loop and all sorts of shit. Like, this is I did not think. I often just throw shit where I am at the time.
Like, as a like an ex-application developer turned game developer, my stance has shifted dramatically on that stuff like that. Like,
to be looser or tighter?
To be much looser, much looser. Yeah. You still try to write good code, but there's shit that I let fly.
But sometimes you're like on a page and it'll still work on this page. It'll be fine. I'll just comment it. It'll be easy to find later. I won't get lost at all. So that was the Unreal stuff. And also, so they had a little thing from CD Projekt Red saying why they were moving to it for the next Witcher. And also Crystal Dynamics said they were making the new Tomb Raider in it. So getting some big players on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, be cool. Okay. Now, is that as much as segues go? Okay. I think so. Cool. Okay. Oh, cool. I had Witcher Goes Unreal as one of them. I mentioned that just natively.
Yay.
Way to go, me. Okay, let's go back to some games that we've played. Or mostly I played.
No, because I've mainly been learning guitar, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
I mean, come on. We all learnt to play guitar.
No, but I've been doing music theory.
Yeah, now you know why a G is
why
a
a G and what diatonic chords are and all these fun things I'm learning.
Shall we talk about Ghostwire Tokyo?
Sure.
Okay, so Paul's advice for Ghostwire Tokyo on the PS5. When beginning Ghostwire Tokyo, open up the options menu and turn up all the sensitivities and basically turn off the mouse acceleration. And if you play with it enough, it might start feeling like a functional first-person shooter. Because
like, are you saying that a company that has not made a first-person shooter before and has just made horror games has not made the tightest of first-person shooters?
Yes. And it's just confusing because you can make it feel mostly right. And probably could make it perfect if I want to get there and really start fucking around with it. It's like, did anyone that's ever played a first-person shooter before QA this? Because play it on PC. It just controls like a first-person shooter. It's fine. But on PlayStation, it's really weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks that go on to make a shooter feel good on a console.
There are 6 different like performance modes because I thought it would just be like performance versus quality, but then there's this like I can't remember what they are called, like optimized performance and optimized quality. And like
what does that even mean?
I don't even know. I chose one that was like fancy tricks and performance to give you like better frame rate with good visuals. I'm like, what? Okay, it seems okay. It seems to run okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ghostwire Tokyo. It starts on a pretty bad foot. You're in a car crash, and whilst you're sort of semi-dead, a spirit enters you, and while the spirit enters you, a fog comes in and just raptures everyone in the area. So they disappear, and then a bunch of ghost people turn up. And so the first sort of act is you walking down a straight path. It is just a tutorial, but it feels really shitty at first because basically there's invisible walls every direction you want to go. And as the game sort of begins, even past this first section, you're locked up from a lot of things, and walking down the wrong alley can just be like, oh no, don't go there, you're dying. And it's an open world game. It takes until sort of Act 3, really, until you start feeling any real openness to it. There's just a lot of fog that kills you. And sometimes you can't even really see the fog. So it's like, oh, I'm dying because I went down this alley because I can see a pickup there. But I can't go pick it up because apparently there's fog I can't see. But there's an invisible wall that's stopping me anyway. What? But it got over that. So I kind of recommend like mainlining it until like Chapter 3 because then you get a little bit more freedom. So yeah, you've got a spirit in you. You want to go find your sister in a hospital, and she's been taken part of this scheme by an evil person trying to just do a thing. I can't really remember the details, and 2, I wouldn't want to spoil it anyway, so let's move on from that. Cool things. All of the setting and all the concepts are really fun. So it's like lots of yokai, lots of kids with no heads running around, and floating ghost demons and Slender Men style guys with umbrellas and that sort of thing.
And one of the things that I wanted out of it was the environments to feel very authentically Japanese. How does it?
Yeah, no. I'm
like on a scale of 1 to Yakuza, where would it sit?
See, well, that's the problem. The Yakuza feels like lived in, and you get a better sense of like the space because a lot, it's probably more than you expect, of Ghostwire Tokyo is doing parkour over buildings, really jumping around and going around the environment. Like Tokyo doesn't navigate like that in real life. So it didn't feel like exploring Tokyo. It felt like a weird game space where I'm like looking for, like, okay, here's a big like mark against the game. This game has a detective mode.
So you always have it
so
on.
You have to keep activating it. So you go bloop. Where's all the things I need? Where's all the things next to me? Because it's all in night, so it's dark as shit. So, and at first I had the HDR on my TV was doing something to make it almost pitch black and I could barely see anything. I mucked around with it and I'm like, I am supposed to be able to see the road. Cool. But yeah, you end up just tapping. So you see a lot of the world in like wireframe with all the enemies highlighted. It's like, is this because it's good or because your art style actually was hard to read? But yeah, like Yakuza feels like Japan. This is certainly like the details when you stop and you look at like a corner store and everything. Like it looks great in that kind of design and that sort of capturing of it. But I didn't really get the sense of moving around Tokyo. But that's all right. It's still like it's. I've been playing Elden Ring, and it's a type of open world.
Yeah.
And part of the things that's good about an open world when it's designed is you get somewhere and you see a thing and you're like, how will I get there? How do I investigate this? Because this is Tokyo and it's lots of tall buildings, your actual eye line can't really see that much except the buildings right next to you. So you get on top of the buildings and all you see are the buildings. And you know where to go because there's a big glowing line because you push your detective button. So it doesn't necessarily feel like the most satisfying space to navigate. Now I was having like fun doing a bunch of the jumping around. You're mainly getting currencies to do upgrades and buy dog food so you can feed dogs around the place so they can dig up more currency for you. And I did feed and pet a lot of dogs because that's my style. But yeah, it didn't wow me. It just felt fine. Things that do feel really cool, though, is that this is a first-person shooter without guns. Primarily what you're doing is throwing magical spells with your fingers, and you're doing some of this cool... Are there any cool, like, wizard things where they do cool finger magic? I think maybe magicians did some, like, you've got to go foom, 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 and you throw
I think isn't it in...
spear out of your knob.
Wheel of Time? Did they do some of that?
I don't know. I couldn't make it through the first episode.
Oh, really?
It was very boring.
I like Wheel of Time.
I thought it was a terrible production.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was the driest, most boring shit I'd watched in years. Look, another person whose name I can't remember. They're dressed in yellow. Cool. I like the way all the scenes are shot with really high depth of field so that nothing looks interesting. Cool. I hear this is very expensive. Why? Anyway, enough bagging on Willow. Maybe it was bad. Maybe if I made it through the first episode, I would have been less critical of the thing.
I think I was watching it through the lens of superfans that were sitting next to me. So I got some of their excitement.
Like when I watched Saving Private Ryan with a World War II nut and all the entire time was spent telling me about the different tanks and the different armaments that everyone had and everything. And I just...
A little bit. A little bit like that.
I didn't enjoy Saving Private Ryan. Anyway, so throwing stuff out of your fingers and with the dual sense, that feels pretty cool. The best thing, though, however, is that there's basically like an execution when you get enemies down to low health or you sneak up behind them and you go like, you pull like a string out of them and you go zzz, and there's like a vibrate and a snap and a pull and they go poof into the air. And that feels really cool. You also got a bow and arrow and that's fine, and bow and arrows always feel good with the dual sense. That's the only like physical weapon that you really have in the game. I believe. I have not finished it, but from what I recall, I only had the bow and arrow. Yeah. So it's okay. The story is okay. Originally, apparently, it was the Evil Within 3, and then they sort of retooled it a little bit to be a standalone thing. I'd say, yeah, a lot of it's just sort of good, but medium. It's mostly the style that'll get you through and the like of, like yokai and shit like that. It's things like, there's the dogs everywhere and you go into convenience stores and there's little cat demon that sells you food and stuff like that. Oh man, the food system is weird. So there's a button to like eat food and like there's a number next to it. I'm like, oh, so that's as many like health refills as I have. It's like, no, that number represents the amount of that food that you have selected. But most of those foods just like auto-populate in your menu. So when you run out of that 5, it just pops to the next food and goes, now you got 4. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm taking or I just pushing the button when I need health. And I've picked up a lot of plastic bags with food in it in this Tokyo, and whatever. Like there are a few that you might eat for a certain reason, but you there's a bit of a balance because ammo's not the ammo counts aren't that high, so you want to do those executions to get ammo back and stuff like that. And there's sort of side content which is mechanically just the same as everything else, which is why I haven't finished the game. It's just got a bit repetitive. But story-wise, you get a bit more fun, sort of just monster stories, which is kind of all I want. I want like Witcher Tokyo, where you're running around solving people's monster problems, not so much the whole like why did everyone get raptured problem. Oh, so the spirit that you got inside you is part of like this network conspiracy thing. So you're collecting all the souls of the people that have been like raptured, taken there, and then you go up to payphones and you open them up, and every payphone in this area of Tokyo is actually like you take the front off and it's like this mechanical device that you can feed souls into and get some money out of. Like, it's a video game. Cool. Ghostwire Tokyo, it's a good game that's come out in a time filled with marvelous games.
Like a solid 7.
I put it there. I don't dislike it, but I'm like, I could play more Elden Ring, or I could play some more Kirby, or I could even just play some of the weirder shit that I have. Because it's just kind of solid.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look back at some news of what we haven't done. I've got the words Hogwarts Legacy here, but actually my reaction to when they revealed more of it was like, I don't care. What was yours? Or did you not even watch it?
I didn't even watch it. I'm just not a Potter guy.
Look, I think the game looks cool as like art wise and like it looks really cool. It's got a lot. It had way more features than I was expecting. Like far more RPG-ish and like customizing stuff than I expected. But it's also just like just doing a lot of things we've seen, doing them really well. But it was also there was no hook for me to go other than like wanting to dive into Potterverse, and I don't care about that aspect of it. Other than that, it's like, wow, a really high value game that doing a lot of things I've seen before. But I'll be interested to see what it is. I just am not excited for it. Sega is finally, the last Sega arcade in Japan has gone. So if you never got to do that, you can't do it anymore.
That's sad.
That sucks.
Yeah, I thought game centers were doing all right over there.
Well, no, not with the pandemic, no.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It killed them, basically. They were already struggling. Some areas they were doing fine in, but generally around the place, they were struggling. That's a shame, because
those things are like a staple over there. They're just everywhere.
Yeah. There will still be, well, I mean, there's the pachinkos didn't get touched.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure they're all fine, yeah.
Yeah, and there will still be arcades, but Sega's arcades aren't there. Yeah. It's just...
That's just a bit of a shame.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that our local like warehouse arcade still exists when my son's old enough to go and visit it, because it's just you're never going to run into it anywhere else again.
No, and it's such a unique experience. Like just
the
whole idea of a arcade cabinet.
It is cool. Okay, we're just sort of in the random news stuff here. We're gonna skip it. Haven Studios has joined PlayStation. Who is Haven Studios? I hear you ask, James.
Who are these Haven Studios, if you talk about?
Thank you for asking. You remember Jade Raymond?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, she like was big in Assassin's Creed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
keeps making studios and not releasing games. She actually, if you actually look at her CV, she has actually been involved in a lot of projects since Assassin's Creed and just like touching them. But she seems to like keep making teams, and those teams don't get to make their thing. So now she's been picked up by her new studio has been picked up by Sony, and they're getting funded. So maybe we'll actually see a game from her in 5 to 10 years, because that's how long AAA games take now.
Because I guess I don't think we would have mentioned that. Sony bought Bungie either.
Yeah, we had a big thing about that.
Oh, okay, we did.
Because remember, I wrote down Sony bought Myth.
That's right, yes, I remember now.
Finally.
You're a very clever joke.
Yes, I always like saying the obscure things someone's made. But, Myth was cool. Ken and Roberta Williams are making a new game.
A VR
game. A remake of their first game.
Yeah, which I think it was pre-Zork or around Zork. Like it was interactive fiction, wasn't it? The original game.
Yeah. It's Is it just called The Cave or something like that?
No, it's something cave. I can't remember.
Look, I'm just typing in Roberta Williams Cave, and I'm sure that will get it.
It's before my time.
Colossal Cave.
Colossal Cave. So yeah, I've never played it. Yeah, I mean, cool. Like, yeah, I'm keen to see what they do.
Get out of here, Ken and Roberta Williams. Fuck off. We've got better revitalizations to talk about.
Yeah.
That's right. News of the year. Ding, 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 ding. Or news of the decade. That's right. Fuck off at classic adventure game people, because the real classic adventure game is back. That's right. In a 9-year-long game, Ron Gilbert, on April the 1st, announced he was making a new Monkey Island. This was 2013. He said if he ever made a new Monkey Island, he'd have announced it on April the 1st. And since then, he's kind of yearly said on his blog, April Fool's Day sucks and I don't participate. So this year he said, it sucks and I don't participate. By the way, I'm making Monkey Island, which is the greatest movement of confusion in everyone's life.
Because I honestly just thought, oh yeah, it's, I thought April Fool's, but then like a little part of me is like, maybe.
He's literally, he doesn't, he's got very strong convictions, Ron. And he's literally said he's in the previous sentence, he says he doesn't do this, but also he's previously had stipulations on making another Monkey Island that basically were unattainable.
Yes, yeah.
So it was like, not going to happen. So a couple of days later, get a trailer for the new Monkey Island. Being made by Ron and Dave, and I think the composer's back to... who's the composer again? That's bloody Michael Lant, yeah. So all like the original crew is back together, and it's Lucasfilm Games. So that was cool to see. And then the next logo was Devolver,
yeah,
is publishing,
and that surprised me.
And the trailer has Murray the Demonic Skull in it, which would surprise anyone knowing Ron and his position on Monkey Island, because Ron made Monkey Island 1 and Monkey Island 2. And the rest were not made by him. And he always said if he came back, those other games don't exist. And he will continue from Monkey Island 2. The trailer's got Murray in it, but Murray is also then cast into the ocean and basically told to fuck off. So whether or not he exists in the universe anymore, we don't know. It may have just been a fun gag, or it may have taken the character.
I think he did tweet about it.
Whether or not he's going to be in it.
And I think that Murray is going to be in it.
Well, that'd be good, because Murray was definitely a character worth retaining.
Yeah, or at least like I can't, because like his wording is important.
Yes,
yeah,
he's very specific with his
wording,
wording,
it was like it wasn't going to be like disregarding the other games or something. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to, because I always liked Monkey 3. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, I think Monkey 3 is still a good game. Yeah. Beyond that, 4 is problems, and Tails has got its moments, but none of them reach anything. And here's the thing. Am I expecting this is going to be Game of the Year? It is coming out this year, by the way.
Yeah, that also surprised me.
Yeah. Well, I think he's been working on it for a while. Technically, probably since that last little mobile game he made after The Cave, because I don't think he's dropped anything since then. So it could have been on this for 3-4 years already. I don't care if it's Game of the Year. I just want to see what it is, that it exists. It's cool. It's just wild. And yeah, it was one of his stipulations, he'd never make one unless he... I
think he said he owned it.
Unless he owned the IP. And the thing is, Lucasfilm is still on the title. I don't think that came, but maybe there's... I think he's probably got a lot of creative freedom for this game to exist.
I wouldn't imagine he'd do it without basically total control.
Yeah. And it's got a different art style, which I think is nice.
I think it looks nice, yeah.
Yeah. And... the funniest take I saw on it was someone who didn't like it, but was expecting we'd be able to switch between it and classic 8-bit anyway. I'm like, one, what? The original's not 8-bit, and two, well, I guess some versions of it were. No, I don't think any of them were 8-bit. But also just like, that only existed because it was an old game that we did an update on, right? You don't do two art styles for a new game.
Yes, yeah.
You crazy motherfuckers. But yeah, so New Monkey Island is coming this year with the original team and picking up from Monkey Island 2. Which is bloody exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Then in just other cool things that were announced, we got our sequel to Hypnospace Outlaw, Dreamsettler. Is it Dreamsettler or Setter? I wrote Settler, but I might be wrong. Let me check.
I think it's Setter.
Which
I'm
it is Settler.
Because I mean, Hypnospace Outlaw is amazing. It's one of my favorite games of that year.
And this just looks very much in the same vein, like slightly newer internet, but still old internet.
Yeah, still really leaning into that kind of 2000, very late 90s kind of internet.
Yes,
which I think I kind of like really appreciate, because I was just using the internet, having random thoughts, and just
how the internet was a mistake.
Oh, just how different the internet is now. Like it's just like it's, when you think back to high school, it's like you'd be making your HTML page, your static HTML web page, and everyone could go in there and just like make some really simple page. Which is what the internet is now. It's just so different, and I think this actually does a really good job at capturing the essence of what it was.
But speaking of capturing the essence, this was not the only Hypnospace game to be announced. That's right. I had to look up again because I can't remember this name.
You can't remember the whole title.
They also announced Slayer's X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer, which is a 90s first-person shooter with music by some of the bands from Hypnospace Outlaw. Like it's based around them,
and it's made by the character.
Yeah, it's made by a character.
In Hypnospace. Yeah, which I can't actually remember what happened to that character. But yeah,
he went into professional game development, obviously. This is the kind of like meta. Like it's one of those things. It's like full on meta insanity of just like, but also just like, yes, this is what mods were for most of history, and there's still a few people that did this sort of thing, but it's just like, we took Tomb and we put my favorite band in it because that's what mods are.
And I am fully expecting that both these games will go hand in hand.
Oh yeah,
like there will be kind of story crossover between these things.
It will. I can't wait to see.
Yeah,
can't wait to see what's What's the dev's name? Jay something. Anyway, what Jay does with this stuff is like, what a cool guy Jay is. From Dropsy the Clown to Hypnospace and now Slayer's X, Terminal Aftermath, Vengeance of the Slayer. What's the acronym for that? No, not helpful. SXTAVO. If you want to take the O and the T. Anyway, not a good acronym either, which is great. So yeah, Hypnospace is good. And then, speaking of bad internet, April Fool's Day happened, which we mentioned, I guess, with Ron.
Yeah.
So moving on.
I didn't look at it. I didn't even look at it.
I got gotten by an April Fool joke. Other than the Ron Gilbert thing.
I got by one. What's the one?
What's the one you got by?
I got by a by Rock Bottom, the Facebook,
the Simpsons meme
page. Yeah, there was one of the prominent people there posted about being sued by a porn company, and I believed it. So I went, hold on a second.
It happens.
I got got.
Mine was very simple. New Blood sent out a press release about that their titles were delayed till 2023. So I just read the subject line and went like, oh, that's interesting. I don't really have any thoughts on that. Moving on. But if I read... It's a
pretty
publisher might say.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable thing to say.
It's like they only have a limited line out. It's still like pandemic recovery and everything. It could happen. And the actual content was about because they're playing Elden Ring. Not a great joke, but you did almost make me not pay attention to you for a year. So good work. But yeah, April Fools. What a look. April Fool's is on the internet has become the equivalent of a 14-year-old boy like asking you to fuck, but like as a joke. But no, seriously, like if you did, like I would be down. But wouldn't it be funny? What we need to do is get rid of April Fool's Day and have test pitch day, where a company can just pitch anything they think might be okay and see the audience response without any firm commitment to it. Because that's all the 90% of the ones, and especially the ones people like, that's all they are. It's like, that's what Razer does every year. Here's a thing we've got a concept for. Do you like it? You do? Okay.
Yeah, we'll make it.
3-4 years, you might have it.
Yeah.
So, yep. Anyway, April Fools, go away. Okay, games. What's the other one I said I was going to talk about in the title? Tentacular. Time for some VR. Do you love some VR, James?
I like VR.
Okay. So this game's in virtual reality. You can play it on PC-based virtual reality or an Oculus Quest-based standalone virtual reality.
You got your little army things.
Arms.
Or tentacly things.
I've still got my arms.
I'm doing it.
So it's Tentacular. You're a tentacle-based kaiju monster, and it's your 16th birthday. And your human sister informs you that you're adopted. You're very shocked. But it's also time for you to become a productive member of society and get a goddamn job. So you're sort of in this like island, I want to say nation, like towns, like a town based on an island, and they've got other islands around them. And no one's scared of you, even though you're a 150 foot tall giant tentacle monster.
You pat them very gently on the head.
That's my favorite thing. So to forward dialogue in this game, you just tap people on the head. Bloop, bloop, bloop,
Yeah.
bloop, bloop.
I mean, one of the things...
You can pat dogs as well. You can pat all sorts of things.
They have done such a good job with the haptics on that game to make it like just the way everything moves, and like you do get a real sense of like a tactility just from the way that the rumble works. And
the rumble works, and it's also very clever in having these tentacles, because where your hands are is about 2 foot before the end of your tentacles. So that whole invisible area in front of you is area you can grab. So the fact that you're not physically touching or pushing anything, you're just like making the broad sweeps with your arms.
Yeah, it's one of the most clever input systems I've seen in VR. Because like I think it does something to trick the brain, and I think it's just how they have that kind of like that tentacle as an extension of your arm. Your brain doesn't expect to like have feedback or like to feel it when you. But then it's just like
the fact that something 2 foot above my arms. Why would I feel that?
So it's
and it can flop around and all sorts of stuff.
And it's just like, and even when you fight against stuff, there's like just like the IK on it just sort of looks all right. And yeah, like it's very clever what they've done. Yeah,
I never really had physics freakouts in the game. I mean, I messed stuff up, but the physics was, and it's very physics driven, and it runs really well, which surprised me because it's pretty much advertised for PC and Quest 2, but if you poke at it, it's totally available on Quest 1, which is all I've got. And I kind of underestimate it now because almost everything's designed towards Quest 2, but graphically and running the physics-wise, it's fine. Absolutely perfect. Perfect. Like maybe a slightly higher frame rate would have been nicer, but it felt completely solid. And I was impressed. I was just like, well, this is great. It works. It looks really good. It's funny. One of the things, so we're both talking about the patting. Like, do, thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Moving on. I hate VR more than normal games when they're like, here's some story. Stand here and wait for the story. And there is story delivered to you in this game. But it never stops you from being able to interact with things. So if someone's talking to you, you can pick them up and move around and everything. If it's like, like Half-Life or something and you're just watching a canned animation, you end up like putting your hands through people's faces and stuff just because you're bored and you're trying to get... This I just can keep doing stuff. I can start working on a puzzle while they're still explaining it to me. And I think that little tap on the head and just keeping you physically interacting with stuff is not just like a cute thing. It also just keeps you attached to the environment and reminds you that like everything's physical. So I really liked that. I thought it was Cool. And yeah, so the game as it develops, your first job, you uncover an alien spaceship and things go bad, and then you're like unlocking the secrets of the alien technology. And that stuff is mostly giving you tools to build stuff with. So the first thing you get is like little round magnets that you can stick on stuff and then attach other things for construction. And it's good that everything is to help with construction, because that's what they're going to ask you to do for most of the game. Build shit. And it works, and it's fun, and it was pretty good. It's one of those things, you get the janky, crazy physics with the waggly tentacles to throw, but also you've got to gently finesse things into place. And I could do both pretty well. I felt good. So yeah, and it's... Wait, was this one of those games? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. There's a few games I've played recently that then I go like, what's this studio like? And that studio is just a person that's called themselves a studio. And I'm like, cool. So yeah, it was a very impressive package. And published by Devolver.
Their
good friends.
Their first VR game?
No, they also published Gorn on the Quest.
Okay.
So their second that I am aware of. I'm no Devolver's statistician.
Why not?
Man.
I feel like you should be, yeah.
I sure do suck up to them a lot.
Well, they are our favourite publisher.
Yes, actually, yeah.
I actually think they are. They don't have many misses, that studio, that publisher.
Yeah, because I mean, like Nintendo I'm big on, but they have lots of games I'm not interested in.
I think there's there's a good
Microsoft,
chance.
you can argue, they're like a weird middle thing, Microsoft.
But I think it's a fair bet if it comes from Devolver Digital, we're going to like it.
Do we now? Because let me tell you about Trek to Yomi.
Okay.
I've been playing the preview version of Trek to Yomi, which is the first 2 chapters, maybe 3 chapters, I can't remember. This is... Oh, I'm going to play my hand here slightly. This was one of my most anticipated games.
All right.
Don't worry, it's not going to be too scathing. Trek to Yomi, it's partly developed by Flying Wild Hog, who did Shadow Warrior and stuff like that, and also another developer that I'm not aware of. It's a side-scrolling samurai game, and it's very much, people are going to say Kurosawa, but let's just say very much samurai cinema. I think the Kurosawa thing gets thrown around too much, forgetting that other people did shit, and also Kurosawa did do some very specific things. Being black and white in samurai doesn't mean Kurosawa. There are definitely some references, but it's like, yeah, it's a gamut of things. But so presentation-wise, I thought this game in preview looked utterly amazing, and it would come in second of my most screenshotted game after Kirby. And admittedly, I've only done the first 2 chapters, so maybe it would actually beat Kirby in a day. So it has individual scenes that are just phenomenally laid out, just like... and here's a pull. The game, in many ways, reminds me of Time Commando.
Oh, all right.
So, congratulations, 3 people. So weirdly, so the game's played on a 2D plane whilst in combat. This isn't a Time Commando thing. But when you're not, you're kind of free roaming in limited spaces, and it's cinematic cameras. So you're kind of like investigating little villages or forest areas and everything, trying to find like corners you can go into a side passage, something like that to get an upgrade or something. From fixed cinematic cameras in a 3D space. And yeah, for some reason it really reminded me of Time Commando. The way that... Because that game, for all of its flaws, and this is a pretty bad sort of video... The backgrounds in that game were videos, and they would play forwards or backwards if you were moving forwards or backwards in the scene. This is rendered properly, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's got that very cinematic camera style to it, which I did have fun. The problem sort of being the combat is good, but quite simple. And I'm unlocking moves, but I didn't really die. I was playing on normal. There is a harder difficulty. There's also an easier difficulty story, but it also didn't give me enough desire to turn up the difficulty. It wasn't like, oh, this would be fun if I was dying more. It was just like, it felt a bit rudimentary. And considering that's really your main way of interacting with the game, I was kind of like, oh, this is fine. But I would, like, compared to like Elysia early last year with the whole spear teleporting thing and everything, like that was a far more dynamic thing. This is Samurai Cinema, so it's about like waiting to either parry someone or like... So I just worked out like the win button pretty easy, which is almost there's a couple of people that can block it, but basically none of the base enemies can block you turning around and slashing behind you. So I just walk backwards and slash anyone that approached me from the front because I was walking back.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird when you do shit like that in games. It's like, it just works though, so I do it. I shouldn't, but I did. Yeah. So that was okay, if I could. And then just like lots of cinematics. And while they're extremely well done in the style, they are very dry samurai cinema. So if you don't actually want to... I wish that there was a bit more storytelling in the gameplay and less like, let's watch a recreation of samurai cinema stuff. I'm not always that impressed by people's ability to mimic something unless they're adding something to it or got particularly strong characters or something, and this just feels like they have the typical characters you would expect. And maybe as it gets more fantastic as it goes along, that will change. But yeah, so, you know, it's no longer my most anticipated game, but I still think I feel like I came off a bit negative on it. I still thought it was really cool, and I played through the whole thing, but it just because maybe I was so hyped, it just limited my expectations slightly. But yeah, it's gorgeous. And some people don't like it being black and white, and those people can shut the fuck up. We don't get enough black and white games. It's a nice aesthetic sometimes. Okay, so what else do we need to talk about? Talk about some more Elden Ring. We don't need to do that. Elden Ring is cool. I keep playing bits of it, and it works well as a like a drop-in game for me. I'll never finish it. Like, not a chance in hell. But also, the more I see of later in the game, I'm like, I think I'm cool, actually. I think maybe this game is front-loaded good.
It's gonna, yeah.
Like, here's what I'm already hitting. So there's these giant bears. I know I literally 30 seconds ago said we don't have to talk about it. So there's these giant bears, and everyone hates them. But I can beat the shit out of them now. I'm fine. Whatever. It's like, okay, a couple of dodges, a couple of hits to the back. Yeah, you know, they're fine. Another bit further along in sort of the game progression, I see a bear. I'm like, cool. I know they're intimidating, but I'm not worried.
Yeah, you got this bear solved.
Yeah, that bear has like 10 times the health and can one-hit me.
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same. I'm not sure if it's got a slightly different name on it, but I'm like, oh, I thought I had bears. And that's the thing, it's like, you know, wolves. Wolves are big at the beginning of the game, and it's like, who cares about wolves? And you go further on, it's like, well, it's the same wolf in the same model, but this one's just arbitrarily harder. Maybe if they made them like magic wolves, but yeah. So I think some of that asset reuse is maybe that. But other than that, like, it's just incredible. Like, I just pick an area and I go and explore and I find crazy shit, and I either go like, I can do this, and I challenge it and I find stuff, or I discover very quickly I cannot do that and run away. So yeah, I'm still having a lot of fun with that. And I don't know, I'm like level 40 something now, so I'm, you know, decently into the game, not crazy, but okay. Anything else news-wise? Oh, PlayStation announced their new PlayStation service.
They're really going after that Game Pass.
Yeah. And you might not have heard too many people talk about it, because I don't think anyone gave a shit. Did you give a shit, James?
No. I didn't even look to see if my... Because isn't it basically they're getting PlayStation Now, and they're trying to roll that into PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
that's like
they're basically just giving you a good price of getting both.
Whereas Microsoft just sort of went, you know what, we're just going to have our Game Pass Ultimate, and we're going to give you xCloud. They've gone and go, all right, let's tier it. And there's what, like 4 tiers?
There's 3 tiers.
3 tiers.
And I'm pretty sure, I might be slightly wrong here. I think one is just PlayStation Plus. Then it's PlayStation Now, and then it's the PlayStation Now. Well, it's not called that. I even forget what it's called. Let's just call it Now anyway. PlayStation Now Plus, which then includes streaming older titles.
Yeah.
So doing your PS2 and PS3 stuff. And that's all well and good. And PlayStation Now is actually like more robust than we tend to give it credit for, Like, they do get relatively new games on it. It is basically Game Pass. It used to be a streaming-only service, but that hasn't been true for years. You can download the games and play them.
Oh, I didn't actually realise that. I thought
PlayStation a lot of people don't.
Yeah, okay. They really need to communicate that better.
Well, they have. No one cared. Like, they've been pretty explicit about it. And I think that's, and look, I need to look this up, because if we call it PlayStation Now, the whole point of this is just to change the name. And we've forgotten what it is. Is it just called PlayStation Plus subscription service? Is it just variations of Plus?
Yeah, I think it's like Plus and then like Platinum and.
So PlayStation Plus Essentials, Extra, and Deluxe. So it actually sounds like the Essentials is actually less than what we currently get, because it says 2 free games a month. Although I think that might actually be true at the moment, but they're just giving us other things, and so you tend to be getting 3 or 4. PlayStation Plus Extra plus the catalog of about 400 PS4 and PS5 games, and Deluxe has all that stuff plus PlayStation, PS2, and PSP games. So apparently. Okay, so Deluxe is... I've opened up an Australian site here. I didn't know the differences in Australia. So we get Deluxe. The Premium is what other people get, because we don't get the streaming.
Yeah.
Because they don't have streaming service in Australia. We get PlayStation, PS2, and PSP games. So we actually get... And also, in the top tier, they put limited game trials. So they put demos there.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, whilst I poo-pooed that, I'll quickly walk it back a little bit. That's not insanely wrong, because it really is just like, okay, download the New Horizon and play the first 6 hours. Like,
which, to be honest, is more than I would ever play anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So if you wanted to just dabble in a bunch of new stuff, you can do that. But the thing that is lacking in compared to Game Pass is, of course, new PlayStation games do not get dropped on this system, because it's not their...
They don't need
It's
to.
not their strategy. They make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They make more money than Microsoft with their current strategy, so why would they cut into their own business? And that's the thing. It's like there's so much push to get them to do Game Pass, but the big draw of Game Pass, which admittedly isn't my draw of Game Pass, they can't do and are unwilling to do. So why even try to compete? Just do your own thing.
Yeah. I think Weird West, I think, just hit Game Pass.
Yeah.
I've got that downloaded. I want to check that one out.
Yeah. I mean, like, we talk Game Pass. I think there's quite a few things on Game Pass I'm playing at the moment. And like Tunic, I'm playing on Game Pass. And I'm playing... What else came out? Tunic, and they're just about to drop the new Life is Strange as well from last year, which I haven't got to yet. But
I still haven't played the season 2 of Life is Strange.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they're all disconnected, so you don't need to play one after the other. Fast Changing Tides is on there. It's playing. The new Annapurna, A Memoir Blue, which I've heard no one talking about, which I guess that's apparently Trek to Yomi. I just saw an ad for it, play day 1 on Game Pass.
Oh, there you
go. So I will, if because I'm still going to play it. Okay. It's not showing me order of things released on Game Pass. Oh well, whatever. I'm mainly doing Far Changing Tides, which I just need to sit. That game's only going to be like 3-4 hours long, and Tunic, which I might save Tunic to another week, because that game is surprising. It is not, because you played Tunic years ago at PAX, didn't you? I know I did, like 3-4 years ago. I was like, what a cute little Zelda-like.
It's more of a Souls game now, isn't it?
Yeah, Soulsy, Fezzy, Outer Wildsy. Yeah. Okay, to just like tease of what we'll talk about later. Not because I want to play more of it, but so the main thing you're collecting in this game, this is what's like cool. So otherwise it's like an isometric Zelda. Looks cute, it's whatever. It doesn't explain anything. So what you get in the game is you collect pages of the manual. That manual is written in another language.
Yeah.
It's got pictures and like button presses and diagrams. And so you will pick up a page and it will have like showing the character doing a thing with like a button being held down with like this combination. Like what? You found out you can do a thing that you could have been doing the entire game and you're actually 5 hours in and now you can do it.
Oh,
because
okay.
you found the manual page. But you can also just restart the game and do it from the very beginning because it's just about finding that knowledge.
I do love...
and deciphering what these pages mean.
I have found that this genre I didn't even really know existed of found knowledge games, which, you know, I say Witness, Outer Wilds...
Tokitori 2.
Tokitori 2. I do like it. I do like these found knowledge games.
And then it becomes like Tunic's going to be really interesting in the speedrunning community because it's also all a game about like because of the fixed isometric perspective. Like, you know, if you just walked behind that rock, like you'd be at the end boss, right? So it's a while, but we'll get more onto that another time. Okay. Quickly, if there's anything that... Oh, God, no, we can't talk about abuse in studios because that's going to be a long time. We might have to come back to that. Oh, E3 got cancelled.
Yep, gone. Done.
So we already knew it was physically cancelled, but they confirmed that there is no digital event for this year. And they're definitely coming back next year. Welcome to Keeley Land. Where we will, I think in response to the like announcement, Keeley just like posted a winky smiley face. He's such a cheeky little fuck, that man. So yeah, we'll be having our summer game fest. So we'll still be having events. Hopefully they can condense in a little bit more than a month or 2 months as they've been doing.
Get them down to a week.
A week is great.
Yeah,
I can get all my fanboyishness out. I can stop begging people to stay up to the middle of the night with me.
We can organise a few nights so we just stay up to 2 a.m. and watch stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, I will, and you'll go to sleep.
Probably, yeah. I really need sleep.
Yeah. So it's... I mean, E3 was like most of my life, my dream of going to. And now it's just like, even if it's there, it's not something that's that appealing.
No,
there's other things that I enjoy more. There's other events that are more focused on what I would be interested in. Dev stuff, go to GDC. Consumer stuff, go to a PAX. Like what do I need an E3 for?
Pretty much.
Watching trailers, which I can just get a better quality online anyway. You're out of here, buddy. I'm sorry. Okay. So game wise, I think I've spoken about everything I said I was going to talk about. We've still got hangovers literally from the first episode of this year that we haven't got to yet, but that's all right. They've held this long. They'll stay later.
They're right.
I might very quickly discuss FixFox, which was a game that I was very excited about because I was like, oh, I have heard nothing of this game. This obscure little game. I can be one of the people that can champion it if it's any good. How cool of me.
You have to feel more special.
Then I found it on the cover of a magazine and I was like, okay. Yeah. So it's still not big, but it's bigger than I thought it was. So FixFox very quickly won me over because it has interfaces. And I was talking before how I love games with interfaces with like controllers you move and shit like that on the screen. So this is about repairing things. And you are like a fox hybrid in space and you're sent to a planet to try and fix the beacon there, and you're going to help solve people's problems. So there's a bunch of cute things in setting this up. One, they've come up with a reason for furries. So first up, they're like, cool, so there were humans. And then some people started splicing their DNA with animals for fun. That's fine. But then the Earth got very cold. So we needed to do it for warmth. And then, because we could hibernate now, we use it for space travel. I'm like, you
crazy son of a bitch! You did it.
You did it. You explained furries in like a fun sci-fi dynamic. Well done, game. And so basically, you're into like old things. So you get sent off, and the first thing that happens on this planet, it's quite fun. Like the dialogue I found genuinely amusing. Like it's well written. This is another like one-man deal as well. It's a sort of, most of the game's played sort of like a quite pixelated top-down perspective, but there's a whole bunch of other content in it that's different art and scenes and everything. It's quite eclectic. So you get to this planet, and so you drop a bunch of your tools, and you go to pick up your hammer, and then basically the tool police turn up. Like, we don't believe in tools. We will confiscate all tools that we find. So they take away your hammer, and you've got to just find other objects used as tools. So instead of screwdrivers, you might anything flat. So if you find some coins or like a spatula, you can like unscrew things, and everything wears down. So you find like there's people that are hiding tools around the place. So you find stashes, and you get tools out of them, and then you can trade them to get other tools off people. And you get like a little motorcycle thing really fast. So you're driving around this planet, like fixing people's shit, and there's a weird dynamic because there's an organization that confiscates tools, and an organization that's against you fixing things. So you've got like a count in each area of like how many tools you're allowed to find and how many things you're allowed to fix, and you just have to find a radio to reset that counter. So it's got these like weird dynamics. So I'm driving around for maybe a couple of hours. I'm like, okay, this is cute, but there's not that many things to fix. There's only so many times I can dust something, unscrew a thing, tape something back together. What am I doing? Okay, so here's a Paul problem. Sometimes Paul doesn't pay attention. So what I was supposed to do was the thing that if I just pushed the mission button, that explicitly told me to do. And then the game moved on very quickly. In fact, I don't think it really wants you to exhaustively like explore and get everything and get hundreds of tools and everything at the beginning of the game. I think it just wants you to do this one thing and start the story, and I didn't. Yeah. And okay. Oh no. There's a weird. It's just too much of a spoiler. It's a fun thing, but it's really cool. I'm still playing through it. It's really cute. If you do play it, because it is out now, at least at the beginning, do what the game says, and you won't just be pointlessly driving around fixing people's radios and refrigerators. But yeah, it's very cute. I'm going to play more of it. So FixFox. It's just on PC at the moment, but it would be a lovely fit on the Switch or something like that. But yeah, as I say, it's a one-man game, so but you're limited in your porting abilities when you're just a single person. But yeah, more on that in the future. And I think, James, according to your timeline, we should probably be wrapping this up.
Yep, we'll wrap it up.
Quick, we'll just do some quick ratings of other media.
Oh, yeah.
You've watched the first episode of Moon Knight, I believe?
Yes, I have.
So if you gave it, like, what percentage of an erection would you give it?
I'd say half-mast. It excited
half-mast?
me. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I
thought it was, I was surprised.
Yeah.
I was like, because I knew nothing.
Yeah, so I went in completely, I'd never heard of Moon Knight before. I know absolutely zero about any of this, and I think that was a good way to watch the first episode.
Yeah. I knew nothing. All I knew was that I'd seen the costume. I thought the costume looked stupid. But no, it's interesting so far.
I like the main character. I like the whatever the voices are going on. It was like,
it's a bit venomy.
Yeah, a little bit venomy. I want to watch more of it.
You haven't watched the Batman, have you?
No.
I would like to go on the controversial record to say this is the stupidest Batman since Batman and Robin. Which I also say Batman and Robin, more consistent in its own logic. But also, it looks very nice. It's just, don't think about it too hard.
It's also 3 hours, though.
It's very long.
3 hours.
And most of that time is just like low depth of field tracking shots, because apparently that means the character is being deep. They look nice, but they are empty. Almost entirely. Weirdly, I know I'm just ragging on it being stupid. The actual like overall plot, actually very good. The arc that the plan is very good. The minutiae of what's happening in that story and watching Batman slowly realize several different animals have wings. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I look online and all the people go, it's a masterpiece. It's like, it's the Zodiac. It's like, no, just because they use the word cipher doesn't mean it's like the Zodiac. Anyway, I feel like it's going to have like a... You know how there was eventually like a huge backlash to the Joker? Because people realized like it wasn't pure genius?
Yeah,
And,
you think the same thing's going to happen?
Now a bunch of people hate it. I'm like, no, the Joker's fine. It's just not genius.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there'll be a Batman blowback and they'll hate it because it's not genius anymore. Like, no, it's still cool. It's fine. It's just maybe a bit dumb. It's still about a man that dresses like a bat. It's allowed to be dumb. It's just very self-serious. So the tone's a bit inconsistent with its dumbness. But I won't go into more... I'll have my own private podcast rant about all of my problems, because there are... you do not... Almost anything in that movie, you do not want to take more than one level down. It's very silly. And you've been watching season 2 of Picard, James.
Oh, yeah. So
And how many episodes until it gets terrible?
I'm going to say 4. Fourth episode, I think it got terrible. First episode, pretty good. I actually quite liked it. Second, third, I think by the time I got to fourth, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it felt like they were doing kind of like, kind of fun Star Trek. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I'm having an all right time with this.
I think of it as like an Orville spin-off.
Yeah. Like, you know how Star Trek likes to take like heavy-handed approach by putting like thin sci-fi layers around real-world things.
No.
Yeah, like it's kind of a not just a sci-fi thing, but like Star Trek does it a lot.
There's this new bad guy called Booten.
I think by the time it gets to episode 4, they're not even like doing the veneer. It's just sort of like really is heavy-handed. Like, oh, this is not even trying.
They're just calling everyone SJW cucks and stuff.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah. Like it's fun. I mean, it's a very woke show.
Oh yeah, I know.
So it's First few episodes look pretty good, but now I'm 5 episodes in. Like I'm invested. I've got to finish it.
Is that how it works? Is it?
Yeah.
I dropped so many things. There's so much in the world, James. If I'm going to hate watch something, it's got to be really worth it.
At least it's not a long hate watch. I think that the longest hate watch I did was AO. Or OA. OA.
Oh, the OA.
Yeah.
Is that season 2?
No, I couldn't even hate watch season 2. I hate watch season 1 because I really wanted to be able to like complain about that show. So I watched the whole thing. And then I tried to watch season 2. I got about like half an episode in and just went straight to Wikipedia. And I'm just going to read what the hell happens.
I really enjoyed how the very existence of the season 2 kind of negated like the twist at the end of season 1. I don't remember hating it, but I do remember, especially by the end, finding it very commentable. And it's come up quite a few times with people talking about like unfairly cancelled shows from Netflix and going, "We'll never get season 3 of the OA." I'm like, really? That's the hill you're dying on. Very interesting. Okay, man, can't they cancel Lock and Key already? Then we can just wait like another 10, 15 years for someone else to try and do it right. Yeah. One day. I'll just read the books again. They still exist. Okay. Enough other media? Any other media?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you for watching and listening to 8.5-Bit. You can catch us on our website or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, you do whatever.
I mean, I do.
We're not the boss of you.
Unless Henry's listening to this.
Do you think that one day our kids are going to go back and watch any of this?
No. They will. They'll like half listen to like our recording,
and they'll be like,
go like,
"Yeah, that's bad."
It's like, I mean, who really would want to listen to like a 20-year-old video game podcast?
That's right. They can go back to our top 5s, our evergreen top 5s.
God, I try to think of some of the more eclectic ones. Ones where there's had words that didn't exist in the topic, thanks to Ben. I just remember like video game characters you'd cast in a new version of
the Nanny. That's right. That's one. Yeah, video game characters you'd cast. Anyone that really wants to go back to some old obscure shit, go back to.
As long as you know what Lexicross is, you'll be fine.
Go back to some of our top 5 lists when Ben was on the show. That was a different time.
Yeah. Well, we had more time to waste in our personal lives as well. Okay. Catch you later, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Click.